Hey team, welcome to the video for the Chapter 3 lab. Lab this week is going to be a little bit different. It's going to be a little more challenging. When we have combo charts and other types of charts in Excel, they don't work the same way on the Mac as they work on the PC. So I'm going to create a video here from my Mac, one because it's easier to record, but two because it's the more difficult of the two. But I need you to be prepared to show both scenarios in class on Friday. So if you need a Mac or you need a PC, I'll have both. You're welcome to use mine so we can figure out how to make that work. That's not a big deal. But for lab this week, what I want you to do is start off with these last two tabs here in the workbook, creating charts and combo charts. And I want you to work through those both from a Mac and a PC perspective. So it's going to be a little challenging, logistically a little odd, but we'll make it work. It's one of the things that's more difficult because it's so different from one operating system to the other. So we'll do that. And then I'm going to have you do one of the lookups on this tab. So you'll see here on this lookup tab, there's 3 different lookups that have to happen: favorite animal, city, number of dependents. I'm going to have you work through one of them and explain it in detail. Then what I want you to do is give the students about 10 minutes to finish these 2 lookups here and this simple if on this side, this tab at the bottom. So basically, you're going to work through the charts and both PC and Mac, whatever order you decide to do it in is fine. PC and Mac, it shouldn't take that long, should be fairly quick, fairly easy to go through. And then I want you to perform one lookup and let the students work appropriately. Students are going to have to turn in their file this time, so they're going to be a little stressed about having it done. I just want to make sure that they're participating, and I also want to make sure that they've got the right version of Excel as we move forward and that they're using their own version. So more on that later when we get to grading. We're going to have a lot of comments in this particular assignment, but we'll get to that as we go through. So let's get started. I'm on my Mac right now working through this, again, because it's easier to record and because it's the more difficult situation. So I'm just going to walk you through how to do this. This Creating Charts tab says, create a pie chart of the home product sales, add data labels, and format appropriately. Then it wants you to create a clustered bar chart with the selected furniture sales by region data. Filter the data to contain only media, armoire, and bamboo furniture. Be sure to give titles and add necessary and useful features to your chart. So a couple things here. One, when you're doing this in class, I want you to physically read those words. I know the students can read. I know it's a difficult thing to do, but I want them to get used to just hearing the directions and knowing what to do from there. So something that students struggle with is being able to interpret directions appropriately. So they're not reading the directions if you are standing at the front of the room talking. So I want you to read those directions to them so that they know what's going to happen. So let's work on this one. Create a pie chart of home product sales and add data labels. So we'll select this entire grouping of data. Doesn't matter if you select the home product sales or not. If you don't select home product sales, it's not going to show up in your chart. You're going to have to type it. So it doesn't really matter. You can select from here down, or you can select all of the data. You're going to go to the Insert tab at the top of Excel, and you're going to go over here to the Charts part of the ribbon, and you're going to click on Pie Chart. We want a 2-dimensional pie chart, so we're going to simply click on 2-dimensional pie chart. When we do that, this pie chart pops up. I told you, graphs are really easy in Excel. They're not the most useful thing, but they are simple. Some things that we notice about this pie chart: it's very nicely colored. It has a nice legend at the bottom. This is because the data is formatted correctly to build a chart from. So later, as I stated, I'll give them data that isn't so nicely formatted, does not make pretty charts like this. This one, however, we're just getting started, so it makes a very pretty chart. What I want you to do is have them add the labels, the number labels, to this chart. To do that, you'll go to Add Chart Element, and you're going to click on Data Labels. You have a variety of options. If you decide that you want to pick one in the center, that doesn't really look the way that we want it to. We want our data labels to be outside the end so that it shows the data labels related to these home product sales. So that's that. The chart title now says home product sales total. I don't really want it to say total, so I just want it to say home product sales. So all I did was click in the chart title here, and then I can select total, and I just push delete. So I just want my table to say home products. I can do command bold and make the title bolded, and anything else that I want to do to make this chart prettier. Making it prettier isn't really what we're going for here. I just want them to get in here and get used to making charts. The second part of this says create a clustered bar chart with the selected furniture sales by region. Filter the data to only contain media, armoire, and bamboo furniture. This one is significantly easier on a PC than it is on a Mac, because when we create a chart on a Mac computer, we don't have a filter option. So it becomes much more difficult here. What I want to point out is here in this particular one, you have grand totals on the bottom row and in the right column. You don't want grand totals when you're creating a chart. Excel's not smart enough to realize that that's not part of the data that you want. So be careful what you select here. You're only going to want the products and the regions. So you want the products themselves and the titles for the regions. If you don't get the titles for the regions, they're not going to show up in your chart. So make sure you select this data. And then I want you to go to Insert, and it says Clustered Bar Chart. So here on a Mac, the bar charts are hiding with the column charts. So you're going to click this down arrow next to the column charts and go down to this one. You'll notice if you hover over them, you have stacked bar, clustered bar, all kinds of different kinds of charts. We want the clustered bar chart, and we click on it, and it magically appears again. So now you'll notice we don't have a chart title. We click on the chart title and we want to edit it. We just highlight, and we want this to say selected furniture by region. And you'll notice that we have all of our regions in the legend here and all of the data that's captured. Now, a couple things. We only want to show the bamboo furniture and the media armoire. So if you are in a PC environment, again, this is much easier because there's a filter button that pops up right here over on the side, and you can click the filter button and you can easily filter. Mac, not so much. We don't have that option. So here we have to go up to this Select Data menu in the top Chart Design tab in the ribbon up here. We have to hit Select Data. Then we have to switch the rows and the columns. If we don't switch the rows and the columns, we end up with just the legend series for the regions. We don't want to exclude a region. We want to exclude products. So we're going to hit Switch Row and Column. And then we're going to select the things we want to remove. Here we want to remove the Captain Recliner and the Chameleon Couch. So now you have bamboo furniture and a media armoire. Then you're going to hit Switch Row and Column again and click OK. If you don't hit Switch Row and Column the second time, I'll show you, you end up with Southwest, Southeast, Northwest, Northeast. This is not how you want to read this chart. This probably gives you a headache. But we want to read the chart this way, showing the product in all 4 regions so that we can see what's happening. Now, does it matter that you want to switch the rows and columns that way and that's the way you want the data presented? If you wanted to present it by region, you certainly could. As this doesn't tell us which way to present the data. If students were to turn it in the other way, I wouldn't mark it wrong. But this is a much more useful way to look at this data from a business standpoint. So they're going to want to focus on which way the chart answers the business question. So here, again, not really something that matters a whole lot because I didn't ask an actual business question, but something to keep in mind going forward and make sure you mention that to the students. I want you to change the color of this chart. So you're going to want to click off the chart and back onto it so that it brings up the chart design tab again, and then to change the colors, to change the formatting, you simply click on change colors and you can pick any variety of colors that you want. Now I will never pick this red, green, and brown one because I can't tell the difference in any of those colors. As you all well know, I'm colorblind, so I don't pick that one, but any of these choices is fine. I just want them to know how to change the color. This is my personal favorite. I like the blues, but you'll notice that as we go through. So that's all there is to that one. The next one says, sorry, I'm scrolling the wrong way because I'm apparently in PC mode this morning. Create a combo chart with columns and lines on the secondary axis showing months, clicks, and dollars per click. Please change the formatting to different colors and add appropriate titles and features. Be sure to create a secondary axis for dollars per click. So, show you how to do this. Again, this is much more difficult on the Mac than it is on the PC, but this is a different kind of chart. Instead of selecting all of this data in this chart, we simply want the month and we want the clicks and the dollars per click. So how do we do that? Well, we're going to select the months and hold down the command button on our Mac, select clicks and dollars per click. And we want to make sure that all three of those columns are highlighted. Then we're going to go to insert and we're going to insert a column chart. It doesn't matter because we're going to change the type of the column chart as we move forward anyway. We don't have the option to select a combo chart there, so selecting the column chart is the way to go. So now we have this column chart, and you can see the columns for clicks are much higher than the columns of dollar per click. Well, we want a secondary axis here for the dollars per click. We want them to be aligned. That's what a combo chart is. It has bars and lines. We want that kind of chart as we create this chart. That's what we have in mind. So what we're going to do here is we're going to go to, this is very complicated, so make sure that you study and understand how these steps work because it's not an easy thing, again, on the Mac side. So normally you would think we would go to change chart type and go to combo chart. We can do that and go to a combo chart. Then you can see vaguely that we have this line down here, but it still doesn't look the way we want it to. Nowhere on this Mac operating system is there a place to create this secondary axis, so it's a little more complicated. So how do you do it? You're going to go to the Format tab, and over here in the top left portion, you're going to see where it says Chart Area. I don't want the whole chart area right now. All I'm trying to do is make a line out of this dollars per click series. So you're going to go to where it says Chart Area and click on dollars per click series. Once you do that, it's going to be highlighted here at the bottom. You could have, instead of clicking on a combo chart, now made this into a line, but we've already done that. So what we're going to want to do is double click on this data. I don't want the axis, I want the data itself. So again, it's kind of difficult to click on. The reason I had you go up here and do series click is to help you on that. So I'm going to click off of it, and I'm going to close this, and I'm going to show you how to do it again. Another way that you can do it is to double click on this axis and bring up this Format Access menu over here. Eventually, this is what you want to happen. So once you get this Format Access, what I want you to do is go to the Format tab and click on the Series dollar per click. This will change this to Format Data Series. Once you get Format Data Series over here in this menu, you'll notice you can change the color of the line, you can do all sorts of things, but what I want you to focus on is this third menu option where it says Primary Axis and Secondary Axis. It's the only way in a Mac to get this secondary axis on this chart. So you're simply going to click Secondary Axis and it will bring up your combo chart. You'll notice what has happened. Now, for the columns, I have up to 600,000 for the number of clicks, but the dollar per click is from $0 to $2. So this series, all that data was presented down here in under $2. So that's the reason that the line is necessary, because 600,000 is far different than $2. That's why we need the secondary axis here. Again, we're going to change the chart title to Click Data per Month. And be done with this chart. We have a bonus on this worksheet as well that says create a pie chart showing the months and the total spend. So here we can just select months, hold down the command key total spend, go to insert and hit pie chart, 2D pie chart. Then we get total spend. If we have a pie chart, we're always going to want to add this chart element, put these data labels outside the end to make that pie chart actually worth looking at, and I recommend that you make your pie chart bigger so that it can be read. This isn't the most interesting graph that we could make, but again, it just allows the students to practice. What some students are going to want to try to do is highlight all of this data to make the pie chart, and then they'll have to exclude it as it comes along. So it's just practice in creating combo charts. Last thing you're going to do as you walk through this is start this lookup. We haven't done Vlookups or Hlookups. They're going to get much more difficult than this. This is a very basic one where the lookup values are in fact on the same tab or worksheet. So this one's pretty easy. Here we're going to look up favorite animal. We're going to look up favorite animal with a Vlookup function. I know it's a Vlookup function because the data of favorite animal goes vertically. So in a Vlookup function we have several arguments. The first one is lookup value, meaning what data is it that you want me to find? What's the value you want me to find in this table that you want me to return a value based on? So my lookup value for this is going to be this person's name. My lookup value again is going to be the person's name because it describes what I want to look up in the table to be able to reference someone's favorite animal. So how am I going to know which person I'm looking for? So I'm going to know which person I'm looking for based on their name. The next argument is table array. Here's where students are going to get messed up. Table array has to start on the very left-hand column with the same thing that you're trying to look up. So remember our lookup value here is Bree. It is a person's name. So our table array must start with names. So our table array must start with names. Here we only need names and favorite animal. But you can't start with the employee number. You can't start with the employee number because Excel can't find Bree in the employee number. The Vlookups are very powerful, except that they only start with the left-hand column, and your data is not always formatted this way. So we're going to learn different lookup functions, specifically index and match, as we go through the semester, that are much more powerful than this Vlookup, but this is a fun one to start with. So we'll take this. We need to make sure that we absolute reference our lookup table because we're going to drag this down and look for all of these people's favorite animals. So we need to make sure that we absolute reference this lookup table because it's not going to move. Again, to absolute reference something on a Mac, it's function F4. You have a handful of students in your classes that function F4 doesn't work for. For those students, it is function T, just so you're aware. Function T. Just so you know what it is for those other students. But anyway, we're going to absolutely reference this table and go to the next. The next argument is column index number. Column index number means in this lookup table, what column do you want me to return? I know you want me to look up the name, but which column do you want me to return? So here in this lookup table, this is column 1, this is column 2. We want the Vlookup to return column 2. So all we do is simply put a 2. The last argument is range lookup. Range lookup I don't necessarily need here, but this means true or false. Here I'm going to want this to be false. I'm going to want it to be false because I want it to be an exact match in this Vlookup. What that means is I don't want Excel to assume the value that I want. If I don't put false here, Excel is going to assume true, and it's going to assume what we call an approximate match. An approximate match means it's going to look for Bree, and anywhere, if it doesn't find Bree in this list, it's going to look alphabetically, or numerically if this was a numeric list, but it's going to look alphabetically. So it's going to find Nick when it first starts and going to return ostrich, because it's going to think, because this list is not in alphabetical order, that Bree isn't actually on this list, so it's going to give us whatever is the first option. We'll work with approximate matches later. Most of the time when you're doing a Vlookup, you want an exact match, otherwise you wouldn't be doing one. So we're going to use false. And then we're going to see that Bree's favorite animal is an ostrich. We're going to verify that that works. We'll double check Kim. Kim is a blue whale, so we're good to go. You're now going to leave the students and let them try to work these two, remembering that we want to use exact matches. So remind them that that last range value lookup is going to be false. They're going to need to know that, especially on the Mac. The Mac isn't nice enough to tell them this is a true-false argument, so they're going to need to know. Just for you, the lookups here are Vlookup. I'll do these quickly. Vlookup here for city, the lookup value again is going to be the person's name. The lookup table is going to be this whole table starting with name again because that has to be on the left hand side. An absolute reference, that lookup table array. And the column index return number here is 1, 2, 3. So here we need the third column, and we need an exact match or a false argument here. That'll give you the cities. The numbers of dependents here are an H lookup. They're an H lookup because this data down here is horizontal in nature. My lookup value, you'll notice I still have names, so my lookup value is still Bree. My table array this time is going to be this horizontal table, which I will absolutely reference if I can push the right buttons. My row index number this time, 1, 2, is 2 because that's the value I want to return. And again, a false argument here because I want an exact match for number of dependents. And that's all that there is to this. Lastly, the simple if. This says, please indicate in column I whether or not an employee will receive a bonus. If employees receive a bonus, please put 3,000 in the bonus column. If they do not earn a bonus, please indicate 0. Students are going to want to make sure that the dollar values appear here because here's the next one. The last thing says, please indicate the total bonus to be paid in a total row at the bottom. If the students put in text, for example, they put quotation marks, 3,000 quotation marks, Excel's not going to be able to add those, so make sure that you point out when you're doing this that those need to be numbers in order to be able to add. Employees will receive a bonus if they have a job rating greater than 3. So there is your logical test. Your if statement is really easy. It's going to be equals if, and you're going to have a logical test. So if job rating is greater than 3, not greater than or equal to, but greater than 3, because that's what our instructions say. If the logical test, if the job rating is greater than 3, if that's true, employees will get a $3,000 bonus. If it's false, they will get 0. So your if statement reads equals if, open parentheses, J2 is greater than 3, comma, 3,000, comma, 0. That's as easy as it gets in simple ifs. You'll just double click on this and copy it all the way down. You'll notice that there are many, many, many rows in this, and that's why students will need to be able to write the if statement and copy it down. You'll notice you can check all these people with 3 job ratings and below have zeros. Now it doesn't show 0, it shows a dash, but that's just because I have that mask in my input to show my zeros as dashes. It's not a big deal. That's totally fine. So here I want to have a total for the bonuses so students can check their work. They're going to do that with a sum function. So equals sum. Click on the cell above, hit Control-Shift up to go all the way up and hit enter. The total bonus should be $1,035,000. I'm going to bold it and give it a top and a bottom double border so students will know that they are correct when they get that number. You're welcome to give them that number as you walk around as they work through this. I expect that the first 2 tabs plus the lookup is going to take you about 20 minutes to work, and then I'm going to want you to let the students work for 15 minutes. You don't have to do the last pie chart with them. Just give them 15 minutes to work through the rest of the things. I want to make sure that you take attendance because students have to be there to be able to turn in this work, and it's going to be very important. If you have questions, please let me know, and please watch the other video on how to do the charts in Windows. Thanks.